Hello, welcome to 2018 Atom Updates. My name is Mark Preco, President and Founder of Atom Software, and it's my pleasure today to present to you the 2018 Atom Updates. As you can see in front of you that we have an outline. I believe it's 10 pages long. You guys should have a copy of this. If not, go into your Atom and go to the Help link in the upper right-hand corner, and there should be a copy that you can download because I'm going to go straight through this outline, so it's going to be a lot easier for you to follow what we're doing if you have the outline with you. So with that being said, let's begin, because this will probably take about 60 minutes, I'm guessing, based on prior years. So I'm going to move this over to follow along. So to start, we have miscellaneous and we have the tabs. So we went ahead and changed the tabs. So they're going to be white as opposed to the grayish blue, and the font size of the words are a little smaller too. So it's all to help on the mobile version. It's a lot easier for you guys to access on the mobile version to maneuver around. We have some new button icons inside the client file. Just going to jump in the file real quick. And we just added the icons on the buttons in here, and there's some that we haven't done yet, but we will continue to do that. So just wanted to point those out to you so you're not surprised when you get your new software. To open multiple atoms, so I just discovered this. So if you ever want to open two atoms at the same time, as you know, once you open one, if you're not doing it in a new session, it's going to log you out. So one is you could do file new session, but then you have to log in, use your username and password. So if you go to any hyperlink, which there are several hyperlinks in Atom, like say I'll just hover over the lobby, I right click and just say open a new window. And it's going to go ahead and open another atom in another window, another session. Let me make this bigger here. But it doesn't time me out, so it actually opened the lobby because I was hovering over the lobby, but it doesn't time out my old session. So it's a real quick way to open another Atom window without timing out your previous window, and now you don't have to log in either. So just wanted to point that out to you guys because we typically have two Atoms open at the same time. Twilio text messaging, so that's a big one. We spent a lot of time this year. We found that texting seems to be the way that our clients want us to communicate with them, and so we went ahead and enhanced that into Atom. So we used Twilio, which we introduced that last year, and hopefully a lot of you people signed up for the Twilio, so you can offer great texting through Atom. If you haven't, I encourage you to do so, and you can go into the help menu right here, and there'll be instructions on how to sign up with Twilio, because we're going to mention it several times throughout this presentation, showing you how powerful of a tool it is when you combine it with Atom in your management system. So to begin with, the character count, a typical text is 160 characters. Well, with Twilio and with Atom, we push that up to 1,600 characters. So that's great advantage right there. Accept incoming calls. So what you can do now with your with Twilio, and even those that did sign up last year, you're going to want to make changes to your account. And again, we're going to have instructions on how to do that. I just don't have the time to get into it right now, but you'll be able to, if the client wants to click on your phone number when you send a text to them, you can forward it right to your office. So they can text to you inside of Atom, receiving text, and you can also call you directly from that number, so you won't lose out on anything. And next is accepting incoming messages. So there's something you need to do in setup on that. Again, if you were using Twilio last year, you'll have to do a little bit of a tweaking. It only takes a few minutes, and we have instructions on that. But the big thing is you now be able to accept incoming calls and incoming messages, and we're going to go through that further through this presentation. Just try to stick to the outline so we don't confuse too many people. Next on the outline list are online reviews. So we tested this last tax season. We introduced it to ourselves in March, and just quickly, we went from 5 Google reviews that we've tried to do for 10 years to 118 reviews in one of our offices. So it worked very well. It gave us a lot of new business, and I encourage you guys to use this feature as well. So there's some setup processes. I'm going to move this outline back over here. It might be easier. So we're going to send you a series of you have URL links, as you guys all know. You have a check-in screen URL, you have a client portal, you have several different URL pages that we give you. So now online reviews is just one more URL that you're going to be using. So it's going to be, this is going to be the address, login.adammanager. Now, if you guys are on login 2, obviously yours would say login 2, and then Adam underscore, and it's going to be your 3-letter code. And for the mobile version, so if you're going to send a link to your clients via text, then you'd probably want to put the M for mobile, web info review.aspx. If it's just desktop, if they're going to be doing this via email, then it's web info review.aspx. And then the very third URL is our default one. So you can put this URL here, and it'll recognize the device they're using, and it'll either send them a mobile version or it'll send a desktop. So this one is a catch-all. It can be anything. So it'll automatically detect how they're retrieving the message you're sending them. And then the setup is in admin sites, client feedback configuration. That's how you're going to set up all your online review. And we have a training video going through that step by step. I'm going to talk about a little bit about best practices. And then obviously we're the only one that used this last year within Adam, but I mean, some of you guys have probably maybe purchased online reviewing software to help you gather Facebook reviews, Google or Yelp. Well, now it's built into Adam, and the reason it's so much better using it with Adam, because you can automate the whole process, and you can hit the client with this request for review when you think is the most appropriate. So because we have, as you know, automated text and email messaging based on Office events, this is what we did. We set it up for lobby. So as a client checked in, they received a text from us and an email asking them why do they like X tax, and that's the name of our tax business. Check pickup, they were happy when they picked up a check. So we asked them, why do you like us? Well, maybe because they just picked up an $8,000 check. Okay, so they're happy. So we're trying to hit them when they're at their happiest times, all right? And then complete when the whole process is done. And obviously, hopefully our clients get a refund. Not all of them do, but again, they should be happy with your service. And so that's when you'd want to ask them for this review, and you want it to be automated. So this is when we did it. And again, when you go to the setup process, it'll tell you how to set all this up. So within the lobby, check, pickup, and complete, you can set up these texts to automatically go out to the client, just like you're probably doing right now, say with pending client, that they're able to get a text or an email sent to them reminding them they're missing information. It's the exact same process. You're going to do it in the client notification screen. So this is our new feature, online reviews. I encourage you guys to use it, walk through the setup process. New help videos. This is just encouraging you to use the help videos that we have either in the help menu in the upper right-hand corner, or we try to put them on every single page in admin or anywhere when you're, like say, transaction information section, anywhere where you have a question on what to do, you can click on the help video and we should explain to you how to use that feature. Okay, moving on to page 2. I'm going to go ahead and move this outline back over here because now I'm going to be getting into the software. So we have 2 new column headings, and now we're in the office event. So I'm going to go to cashier, and these new column headings right here, the new one, we have one called category, and we have cell phone. So the cell phone is just pulling from the cell phone field in the contact information section. It's now you can display it on your office event page on the home page. Category happens to be a brand new feature, and I'm going to discuss that when we get into the contact information. But it's just a way of categorizing the client, and you can customize it. But it's going to show up here on the office event if you choose to have it show up on the office event. Now, because you can actually, moving down to the second bullet in office events, you now are able to either add or eliminate columns displaying on your office event. So if you don't like all these columns display, maybe you don't want the email, cell phone provider to field, you can go into admin, and it's in event status and column view permissions. And you can then uncheck the box, and so then this column will not display. Or if you want some other columns to display, you can go ahead and add whatever you'd like. Now there's a few columns that automatically will always display, which are going to be the access code, the year, the name, and the status. and I believe the account user. So a few of them have to display, but majority of them you can control what you'd like to display and what you wouldn't. So if you want to try to clean up these homepage office events, now you can do that in admin. Next bullet, send email text button now displays as send email. So this button right here, it used to say send email text. So now that we've integrated Twilio with us and we're really going full throttle with Twilio and texting, we didn't want to confuse you when we had a text here. So this button, all that was you're actually just sending an email, like a typical Outlook email. But it was allowing us the old-fashioned way of sending a text with Adam was, you actually email it and you use the cell phone number and the provider, and that's kind of how we were texting people. But now it's a real text with a real text phone number. So just to cut the confusion, this is going to strictly be just tied to, like, say, email, but you can still do things the way you were doing if you're using your email providers or cell phone providers. I'm sorry. Send predefined notification error message. Over here, if you were to check a box, say I go with John Adam here, send predefined notification. If you didn't have an email or a text and you had a message in here, I don't know if you tried it, but you get a red bar across there saying, a lot of messages that I couldn't even read back to you, but we've tried to clean up that error message to actually identify what client where the problem is. So typically it's because you don't have an email or a cell phone and you're trying to send a text or an email to say all your clients at once, and there's one client that's causing a problem. So it'll identify which client is causing the error now with this error message. To override event user, which is right here, override event user. So now you can actually change your event users right here if you'd like to. Really easy. So if I want to change both of them, I can just come down here, say I want to select Mandy, I hit set. So now Mandy is now the event user. So this comes into play, very helpful for our bookkeeping clients that are using Adam to track their monthly bookkeeping or reconciliations. Typically the person who enters this event is going to be tagged as the event user. So if you don't want to be the event user, you can quickly now change it to whomever you'd like to be there. Open checklist page in new window. Excuse me. So if you want to use say you're using our checklist, but you want to keep, you want to have both windows open. You want to have the Adam open, plus you want to have this checklist. Now, if you just right click, just how I showed you how to do open a new window, you right click here and say open a new window. And now I can have my checklist open right here, and I can still be working in Adam, and I can check these off as I go along. So you probably can do that in any single place within Adam now, where you just right click and say open new window on any kind of hyperlink. Okay, that's all I have for the homepage office events. Excuse me. Now let's move to the user overview. So I'll go to my homepage, user overview, and we're going to focus in on my assigned tasks right here. So I have one new assigned task. We made a few enhancements to this. So now from here, you can mark it as read. So if you don't want to have it display as you have a new assigned task, because maybe you've already read the message. The way we used to have to do it is you had to actually go into the file and then read it, and that's how we thought you were reading it, by actually going into someone's file. Now you can just check a box here and hit mark as read, and now it won't be yellow anymore, and it won't show up as, now you don't have, it doesn't say one new assigned task. You can also edit from here, so I can change the assigned to if I'd like, and I can also change the assigned dates. So maybe if this is popping up here and you read it and you're like, oh, I really don't need to act on that yet, remind me in 2 days from now. I can go ahead and change my assigned date, say for tomorrow. So it'll be removed from my home page, but it'll pop in again tomorrow or whatever day you'd like it to be. Whereas before, the only way I could do that is if I actually went into the client file and then I edited inside the file. So this is a quick way to edit your assigned tasks without having to go into the client file. Now we move down to Office Overview, or over to the right, office overview here. So the big change is we have a new one called your office has, in this case, 3 new Twilio messages. So now if you have not signed up with Twilio yet, and again, if you want to do texting with an Atom, I strongly encourage to use Twilio as opposed to using the old way of using cell phone providers and the cell phone number. And just to give you an idea of, obviously there is an additional cost. You don't pay it to us, you pay it directly to Twilio, but they just charge a half a penny a text. And we went through tax season last year, and with us having 8,500 clients, and we averaged about 5 texts per client, and our cost was $260 for the tax season. So it's very, very inexpensive, and it's an awesome tool to communicate with your clients and your staff too. So with that being said, if you do sign up, you will have this display. If you don't sign up, then you're not even going to see this. But unfortunately, I have to talk about it anyways. So this is going to track your incoming Twilio or text messages. So when you send a text message to your client and they reply back, say you tell them, Cindy here, you have missing information, we're trying to complete your tax return. And then she replies back, whatever she says, it'll come right into Atom. Whereas before, if she replied back, just possibly you could read that, but you had to log into Twilio to actually see that. Now it's all going to be logged in their file, and you can easily reply back to it. So you can reply, you can assign. So if I want to assign this to someone, all I do is select the edit pencil. Just like any other message you have, just like your client portal messages or your prospect messages, I can type notes right here, and I can assign it to a specific person and then save. And so now if I go to my home page, here I have one new assigned task. So this was a Twilio text message that was assigned to me. If I click on the view icon, I actually go right into the client file, and this is called the Twilio Message Log, and this is going to show every message that I've sent to her and every message that Cindy has sent back to me as a text. So it's just like on your phone when you're tracking all your texts for an individual. It's exactly the same way, except it's all put inside of Atom, and it's not in your phone. It's actually organized inside the client file, and I'll show you later where that actually, how we can quickly get to it. If you want to, so if I want to reply back to her, I would just say, thank you, or whatever I want to say, and I just hit send, and then that gets sent back to her. If I want to complete this, I can check the box here and complete it. So now it's not highlighted in yellow. Now I know all my texts have been accounted for. If I want to do a predefined message, I can do that right here too. Say I want to, they have questions about my tax prep fees. So you can create these predefined text Twilio messages, and that's all in admin where you can do that. So anytime you find yourself typing the same message over and over and over again. So for example, if a client asks about, can I file with my last pay stub? So I already have a predefined message set up with that. Unfortunately, you can't file with your tax return with pay stubs. You have to wait for the IRS has requirements, whatever you want to put in there. It's just, so now your staff can be assured that the same message, or you can be assured that your staff is sending the message you want to be sent to all your clients, and not, they don't have to type anything in. And I can just hit send. Oh, I have to make sure to highlight it here, send. And then it's now documented right here in her file. Now let me go back to this one more time. So now I have 2 new Twilio messages. If it's an employee, so if it's a user as an employee, then the employee name is going to display right here. So if it's a client or a new client, nothing will display in the username. So this is strictly capturing when you're sending text, or your clients or your employees are responding to you. So if it says a username, that's going to be an employee. The phone number will display if it's not linked to a client name or client file. So this one down here, the second one, 4208436, it doesn't recognize, this number is not recognizable as a client or an employee. So it just displays a name, because when this client sent me the message, they must have somehow got a hold of my text phone number that I signed up with Twilio. And so they sent it, and it actually went right into my Atom, but I don't even have them in my system yet. And I think that may start happening, because again, I'm going to show you a best practices, and we haven't tested this yet, but we're redoing our website, and I just want to share this with you. On our website, we're actually putting text us on here. So we have our phone number, plus we're allowing them to text directly to us because again, based on studies, clients want to text and they'd rather text than call you. So we're giving them what they want. So on our new website, we're going to allow the client, if mobile version, obviously, they can hit text us. So it could be a new client that we don't even have in our system yet, just inquiring about our business. So again, I had a message. I don't have my W-2s. Can I use my last pay stub? So if I clicked reply, I could come down here and hit last pay stub and blast this thing off, and it would actually go to them. And so it's tracking the phone number. It doesn't know who the client is, but it's tracking the phone number and it actually has a log of this phone number. So that's kind of how this is set up, this new Twilio message page. So you can have a client, you can have an employee sending you messages, and you can have prospects sending you messages through here. I just want to cover that because it's a big change, and that's probably our biggest change that we've had this year. So we will have help videos on this. And now I'm going to go to my home page, and now we have search criteria. So the new search criteria, we have invoice numbers. Now if you go to the search, you can we have invoice numbers with Adam, and you can also search with it. So if I have an invoice number with 1,000, it'll actually pull up the client, and then in the transaction section, it'll actually have the invoice number, which we're going to cover a little later. But I just wanted to point out you can actually search by invoice number now. Search results. We added a new category now is a column here. Remember, I just showed you the category on a home page, office events. It's also in the search results here. So can't climb the stairs. That's the name of the category. So we're tracking this client. They may have difficulty climbing the stairs in our office. Link to the Twilio log page, the page I just showed you. Now there's a quick link here. So if you wanted to send a Twilio text to a client, you can just do a search, click on the little text icon. That's going to shoot you right into their client file into the Twilio message log. And from here, you can go ahead and send them a message, a text. Let me go to the client. So now the next section here, now we're inside the file, contact information. We changed the Spanish speaking checkbox label to other language. So right here we have the checkbox. It used to say Spanish language. Well, now a lot of our Adam users said, well, we don't actually have Spanish speaking people. They speak a different language, maybe French. So can we just change that and make it more generic? So yes, we did, and we did it throughout the whole software. So you can still use it for Spanish speaking, okay, the exact same way. It's just going to be labeled other language. The mailing labels right here, if you're using the mailing labels, this has now been changed to 12-point font, made it a little bigger than 10. New client category, which we've been discussing. Here it is right here. Category can't climb stairs. So you can create as many as you'd like. This one says file extension. Whatever you want to keep track of with the client. How do you want to tag them? Maybe you want to rank each one of your clients as A being the best and D being the worst, the ones you want to get rid of. You can do that now, and you can color code it. So that's all set up in admin. Send scrambled client portal passwords. So obviously we've been able to do this. If you click on the send scrambled password, when they get an email and a text, inside of that message, it'll also include your client portal link. So one, they'll get the temporary scrambled password, and then they'll have the link so they can quickly go right to the client portal to go ahead and use that password. Permanent documents page. So on the permanent documents page, we changed this button to make it a little less confusing. So it used to say save done, not done, and people were checking this to save when to upload. This button right here is all it is intended for, all it is can be used for is to change these done boxes. So if I want to check this, that it's done and it's no longer highlighted in yellow, that's how I do it. I uncheck these. Now they're both. So this is a way of tracking what upload has been entered, say for tax purposes yet. So when they're done and they've been entered, that's how we use it anyways. When clients send us a lot of documents through the portal, we check them off as we enter them, and that's how we use it. So we just changed the name of the button here. The features was here last year. Link to the client portal message. We just put a link here, client portal messages. You can quickly go back and forth. Here's the portal message for this client, and I can quickly go back to my permanent documents page. Just a quick way to maneuver through the software. Client portal log. So I go back here to the portal message page, and I can link to the account documents from here too. And then vice versa, I can go back and forth. So in my account documents, that's all. The new Twilio Message Log. So where that's located, if you actually go, if you're inside the client file, how to get to the Twilio Message Log, which I've already showed you a few times, is there's a button right here, Twilio Message. And this is the exact same page we've been looking at. So from here, you can send a message to the client. You can reply to the client, via Twilio text message. Again, it has to be set up with Twilio, otherwise this will not even display for you. Send and receive, okay, two-way texting. I kind of already demonstrated all this. Oh, one more I want to point out here. So this is John Casey is the taxpayer, the client. Mary Casey is his wife, the spouse. Jason Casey is the secondary contact. So say if you had an elderly couple that maybe their son is helping them take care of all their accounts, you'd list them in their file, and then if you want that person to actually receive text, as long as you have their cell phone number in there, they'll display here, and you can send a message to one of them, all three of them, or a couple of whatever you want to do. You select. It'll default to the client, the taxpayer, but you can select whichever one, and you just hold the control key to do more than one. And then again, to show you where that additional contact, here's the taxpayer, the client, the spouse, and here's a secondary contact right here. And so you just would need the cell phone number in here in order for that name to display, so you could actually send them a message. And then one more thing I want to point out, it'll actually identify who sent it. So if it says X-Tax, that's the company. That would be something that's kind of automated, saying your return is ready or happy birthday. But if an individual user, employee, sends a message to the client, it actually will recognize that they're sending it, and it would put their name here. And then whoever replies, as long as we have obviously their cell phone, it'll link it directly to their file, and it'll identify whether it was John, Mary, or Jason. So when they reply back, Adam is looking at that cell phone number and tracking to see, do we have a cell phone number for that person? And then it'll link it to that file. Now, if they reply back to you using someone else's cell phone, it won't recognize that number, and we won't know who that is. Okay, predefined message, we mentioned that. You can create as many as you'd like from here, just like any other predefined message used in Atom. So you can use it for your texting too. I would encourage you, even though that is 1,600 characters, I would encourage you to, don't get too lengthy. Texting is all about short messages, not long ones. So if you want this to continue to be effective with your clients and your staff, I would encourage you to keep it short, but that's just, my recommendation. You can use it however you'd like. But that's what texting was designed for. Moving on to page 3, or no, I'm sorry, I'm on page 4 already of the outline. Perfect. Okay, permanent note. Let me get back to my permanent note. So some of you requested, you wanted this to be expanded because you were putting more stuff in the permanent note. Now it's unlimited. You can have as many characters as you'd like. There's no limit on this anymore. Expand and collapse feature. All this is if you click on it, it's kind of quick. We're able to load this from the page instead of pulling it from another source. So some of these links or sections in the client file, we can quickly, and you guys may have experienced this already. So we actually pushed several changes to you guys. I think it was in June that we had to make a change to account for some other things that were changing. And we pushed some changes, and I didn't announce them. So some of these I'm announcing now, and you may have already noticed them. And I don't believe we had many phone calls, so a lot of them were self-explanatory. Moving down to account information section. Let's see here. We have refer a friend pop-up window. So the referral source right here. So if you select refer a friend, and I'm just going to open up the refer a friend pop-up window, you can now send them an email and a text directly from here. So as long as you have their cell phone provider, their cell phone number and their email. So in this case, I don't have their email. So an email, all I have to do is select send email, and that's going to send them a thank you. It's going to thank Mark. Mark's the one who referred John Casey. It's going to send a thank you to Mark. It'll say thanks, Mark, for referring John. And then you can customize the message to whatever you want. So you can customize that all in admin under email text templates. So it's just a quick way of getting a thank you out to your clients that are actually referring you business. So hopefully they're going to refer you more business. Account user role. So if you want to pay commissions, if you're paying commissions to your staff and you have, say you have a commission rate for data entry, you have a commission rate for reviewer, you have a commission rate for preparer, now you can accommodate for that inside of Adam. So in the client file right here, we have a button called account user roles. And this is all controllable by business type. So if you don't want to see this button, then in admin on the business type, you'd make sure you don't check the box. All right, so if you never want to see the button, then just don't check the box. In fact, I believe when we push this to you, the box will not be checked. So the only way to actually activate this is to go into your admin business type and then to turn it on. So when you click on account user roles, from here, you can create as many roles as you want, commission roles. So you, in admin, you go ahead and set up, what the role is, a reviewer, data entry, as many as you'd like, and then you can put whatever commission rate associated with each one. So if Dwan and Mandy here are getting paid commissions for Dwan being the reviewer and Mandy being the data entry, based on whatever payment you receive from this client, there's a report, and I'm going to cover that later, that you can generate to find out how much I should pay Dwan and Mandy based on what role they did on this tax return. Now the preparer is still going to be the exact same. So this user right here under preparer, it's going to assume that everything associated with this file is all giving them credit as the preparer. So that didn't change at all. This is just extra in case you have more people that you need to pay commissions on one client file. Okay, account documents page. So let me go to the account uploads here, account documents page. So from here, again, we changed the button, update, done checkbox. This is just going to, all this is designed for is just to update these checkboxes, and that's it. Excuse me. We added the last four of the Social Security number or EIN. This is coming from the access code to, in case we had issues where when a client was married to multiple people several times and they still stayed with you, that that this kind of got messy as to which one am I going into. So we now have the last four of the EIN or Social Security number displaying next to the business type and the year, so you can quickly make sure you get to the right file you're looking for. Link to the client portal message. I already mentioned that. This is clicks to the client portal message, just a shortcut. All right, moving on to the office events. So we've added, very simple change. We added the calendar icon to the dates times column right here. So if you find yourself entering the start date or end date, it might be quicker that you can use this calendar. This might be more applicable to our clients that are using Adam for bookkeeping and payroll tracking. Sort by office event rather than start date. So this is actually applicable to those using Adam to track their bookkeeping clients. So I'm going to go into John Casey here under him as a monthly bookkeeping client. And for the office events, what we did with him is we set up January through December. So he has certain tasks he has to do each month, like bank reconciliation or whatever it is. So prior to this, when we would complete one, say I close June out, and then it would obviously create another June, say 365 days from now, it would put it, because I modified it, actually shoves it up at the top, is how it used to work. Now I can control that I want to sort based on the office event status and not based on the start date. So if I go ahead and close this out, put an end date in here, and I hit save, another one will be created. That's how I have it set up to do, but it doesn't change. It all stays right in the same order. So this is going to be nice for the bookkeeping clients that want to actually stay organized by, sort it by the status and not based on the start date. So that's all set up you do that in admin. You need to turn that on by business type. Now let me go back to John's tax prep file here. Go back to 2016. We're going to move into the transaction information section now. And a new feature we added, which I think it works really well, is that now you can create invoice numbers if you're using Atom for billing purposes. So over here in the right-hand column, this is where we're going to track the invoice number. So you could either put it in manually by just selecting the edit pencil, and the field's going to open and you can enter this in. Okay, or right down here where it says set new invoice number, you can check once you create it. So let me go ahead and create one. So I'm going to say fee tax prep, say it's 100. And now I could manually enter it in on the fly right now. But if I actually want to use the set new invoice number, because what that does is it's going to go out, everybody's going to start at 1,000, okay? And then it's going to go forward. It's going to look at, it's never going to have a repeating invoice number for anything in your software, regardless of what the business type is. So if I save it now, and then I check the box here, I want to make sure it's marked undone also, and then to mark this undone, and check the box, and I hit set new invoice number. So it's tagged this one. So now the next one in order is 1007. So if you want to use this to track, to make sure you don't have a duplicate invoice number, that's how you would do it. Now, if you have already a invoice number scheme set up and you'd want to use this, but you want to have it keep in the same order, contact our office and we can work something out that we can actually get that going in the right, so you're going in the right order. So if you want to start it at say 10,550, because that's where you're leaving off, just contact our office and we're able to do something internally. Okay, so now if I want to just look at my print open invoices, this is a new report right here. This is going to display anything that's open, meaning it's not done, and it's sorted by invoice number. So I have 3 of them tagged invoice 1000. Then I go down to another page, invoice 1006, and then invoice 1007, the one I just created right here. So I can send 3 invoices out. So these are called open invoices, meaning they have not been paid. So if I check this box and say they're all have been paid or they're done, it will not show up here. In fact, I'll just check one of them. I'll check this one, hit update. Now I'm going to put on this print statement. So the print statement, the name has now been changed from print transaction history. And this is just actually, it really is a statement. It's going to show every single thing in the transaction section. So whether they've been paid or not. And I have the done column here, which I always had. It's going to mark done, meaning it was paid. And then now I add another column called invoice number. So we removed the cashier, which I don't think was really needed. And we put the invoice number here. If you're going to use, you don't have to use Atom. You don't have to use our invoice number. You can continue to use exactly what you've been doing, and it still works exactly the same way. The print hourly statement, that was just changed from, it said hourly invoice. It really is a statement. So nothing else has changed on there. Make sure I didn't leave anything off. So that's all we have for the invoices. All right. Now, as we discussed up above here regarding, we just mentioned the account user role in the account information section. So now we have the account user role override. So just to say we have client comes in for an amendment, and now you have a different person doing the data entry and the review. So if that's the case, then you could just come down here on whichever transaction it is. So in this case, I have Mark and Dave are now the reviewer and data entry just for that transaction. That's going to override whatever you entered up above. So it works this almost exactly the same way as you could override, over here would be overriding the preparers, if you recall, if you're using this for commission. This is strictly tied to commission if you need to pay out multiple people on one file. Okay, so that takes care of the account user rule. Now I'm moving on to page 5, so halfway there almost. EF database. So the EF database, again, we had this really quick expand and collapse feature. Just makes it easy and quick to access the information. The federal refund method column heading right here, we just added projected date. We had some of our staff were using this date right here as the main date. It's actually a projected date. All of this is 21 date. In this case, this client doesn't have a refund, but it's 21 days from the date it was actually accepted. That's all we put on here. And then we put disclaimer down here. This is a projected date. And it also mentions about the earned income credit and child tax credit, that those dates can be extended because, again, our staff is coming here and some of our staff are new. So I want to make sure they're not giving bad information. So we just put that disclaimer in here. And of course, obviously, as you know, you can quickly go right here to get the latest information on the IRS website. State reject R. So if you have a reject in here, that's actually going to be highlighted. The state reject will be highlighted in red with the R, as opposed, it wasn't highlighted in red before to stand out better. Federal accepted extensions. So prior to this, if a return was filed in extension, we just had the large capital A. Now we have the small a, and we have it highlighted in red to make it easier to stand out. So, and you know that this actually was an accepted extension, not actually an accepted tax return. Added calendar year. Let me move over to a different client here that might help you show. I'm going to go into my waiting on IRS to fund the bank, and we'll click on this file right here. Here I know we have some rejects, so you can see how its state shows an R now. We've added the year. So it used to just say 131. Now we actually have the year. That's to accommodate prior year return e-filing. So you could be e-filing, say, a 2015 tax return, and it may say 131, but you don't know, was that the current, was that in 16 or was that in 17? So now we added the year, so you'll know exactly when it was actually accepted and transmitted. Federal refund methods for bank products. This is just strictly going to be tied probably to Drake and EPS Financial users only. So we were able to figure out what kind of coding they were sending over, so we can put and we're using RAL still. I know if you guys are doing bank products, you know, everyone calls them advances. I guess we're still using in our office. This is just internally, we're using still refund anticipation loan. I mean, it's pretty much the same thing. It's just, I know they don't like to use that, but that's how it will display, you know, inside of here. So there's different ways. So pending RAL, it'll say check. What that means is the client's requesting in advance, you know, money, you know, instantly, and check means the first payment, like what they receive today, is going to be a check form, and then their next payment when the IRS actually releases the money, it would be in, again, a check form. So we're able to identify, you know, it makes it easier for our staff when the client calls in and asking for, you know, is my money here yet? We can quickly go in and say, oh yeah, you're waiting for another check for us to print, or oh, it went on to a money card, or it's going to be direct deposit. So this would be a quick way for our staff to identify how the client's expecting the money, so we can give them accurate information when talking to them. So that's what all these different refund methods are. So if you're using EPS and Drake, you should have seen that. I think we changed that last tax season, so you should have seen that coming through. Favorite links, all we did is, again, quick expand and collapse to make it, you know, quicker for you. Plus it looks kind of cool. Link clients. So moving down to our link clients. So we encountered a little problem last year. So a link client, if you link the client to a file, then in the client portal, they actually both could get into each other's file, which could be fine, and it also could be bad. So we were able to correct that problem, and going into a link client file here, now the only way that you can actually get into the other person's file on the portal, you have to have this box checked here. So where I linked this client to John Casey's file, and on here I check the box that I also want to get into his file on the portal. So I can click over to John's file and go down to the bottom here under his link client, and it's the exact same way. So right now both of them get into each other's file, but if I didn't want John to get into that person's file, then I would just uncheck the box and then they couldn't get into the file. So that's, it's kind of critical. So if you're giving link clients, if you're linking clients, say partnership returns and whatnot, you don't want the other partners. You want to give them access to the partnership return, but you want to make sure that they don't get access to the other partner's return. So this will be a way of controlling that. Appointment scheduling. Let's get up to the appointment scheduling. So I got John Casey here. So now you can send, you always could send a confirmation out via email. Now you can send one out email, text, or email and text if you like. So again, you said, and we have the cell phone provider added here. So now we can see that we have the cell phone and the cell phone provider. Again, if you're still using the old way, but if you're just using Twilio, which is what I'd recommend, all you need is a cell phone number. Excuse me. Now we have page 6, online scheduling new clients. Let me click, cancel this out. Oh, one more thing I think I missed. Oh, category, I'm sorry. On the scheduler right here, so we have the category, can't climb stairs again. John's frail, he's not able to climb up the stairs. So again, it'll be tagged here. You'd be able to see it at this. And again, the color coding is based on however you want to set that up in admin. Now on to scheduling. Let me get to my page 6 here. So we have online scheduling new clients. So that looks just like this. And you can add the mobile version too. So all I did here is, if you have a smaller office, you only have one office, then it'll automatically default that office. If you only have one person, then this person would automatically display. You wouldn't have to fill that in. And then same way with down here, if you don't want to have the clients have to pick any of these things, if you only have one referral source, it would automatically display that. And how do you hear about us, or how do you want us to help you? If all you do is payroll, these items would all display, and then the client would just have to come in here and pick a time, put their name in, and they would automatically schedule it right into your calendar, just to make it easier for your clients. Oh, one last thing is the last 4 of the social. So if you're using this for other than, say, tax prep, now if you don't use our calendar, the last 4 of the social security number is not important, but the last 4 of the social is a way of linking the appointment to the client file. So if you don't have the last 4, you won't be able to do that. But if you're not using our calendar, it doesn't make a difference. Or if you're using it for other purposes, then you can actually now go in and you can eliminate this and take this completely off. Take it completely off of this new client appointment request page. Actually, no, this isn't a request. This is actually a schedule page. And that's done in admin in the company page. Work schedule. Let's jump back here. Because we found that texting, not just your clients, it's also important to text your staff when they're outside the office. It seems to be the most effective way to communicate with your staff. So you can now send text messages to your staff, when they're working. So from here, if I click on an individual name, I can send one at a time. Again, email, text, or email and text. Or if I want to do everyone at the same time, once I get a complete work schedule built, just come down here and I can hit and blast them all at one time. And then when they reply back to me, as I told you, it would actually come right into here where it says your office has 2 new Twilio messages. Their reply would come into here, so everyone could see it. And then they could, a staff member, receptionist might assign it to the office manager to make sure the office manager is actually reading it, because they might be the one that is most concerned with the reply back from the staff member. Client portal. Let's get to our client portal page right here. I'm gonna log out. So need a password or forgot a password, and you click on this. Now the client can enter their email. Their cell phone. What we found out was the clients, either we keyed in the wrong email address because it's kind of hard to read sometimes. So the clients would end up calling us for their password. So now they can either do their email or cell phone, and as long as it's a match along with their social, they will get an email and a text with a temporary password sent to them. Let me go back to the login now. Now in the main menu, let me log back in here real quick. And guess whose file I'm going to go into? John Casey's. All right, so now we have linked clients. So on the mobile version, and I can kind of show you how to do that. If I put an M up here, this actually turns it into the mobile version. All right, just wider. But right now we didn't have, and I didn't even think about it, for the linked client, the drop-down menu didn't appear on the mobile version. So now, as you remember, I had John linked with Rochelle here. So on the mobile version, they can quickly go back and forth. But on the desktop, we always had that working properly, but the mobile, we kind of forgot about it. As you see here is the drop-down right there. So now that is going to be working. Get a copy of my invoice and receipt. So down here, make a payment. I mean, I just call this make a payment as opposed to, obviously you guys know you can customize all these links in admin. So this used to say invoice and receipt. So the invoice really was a statement. So now, because now we added invoice numbers, we can kind of really identify these really are invoices. So if I come down here where it shows 375, I click on open invoices. And again, it's going to be open invoices. So it's designed, as you'll recall, as I just pointed out in the transaction section, you have to have the done box unchecked. And they have to have, but they don't necessarily have to have an invoice number, because if you have that done box unchecked and you don't have an invoice number, it'll actually still display this. It just won't have an invoice number here, but it'll still show any open transactions. So this is exactly the same thing I just showed you inside the client file for this client. And now the statement is exactly the same thing I just showed you inside the client file too. It's going to be everything, and it has an invoice number. And then it's going to mark it if it's done, if it's checked or not. So now the client, so the receipt, we eliminated the receipt, but the receipt is exactly the same thing. Once they pay it, the client balance, whoops, I'm sorry, let me get back on. Once they pay this, the client balance will show 0, and they can print that off, and it will be the receipt. So we thought it didn't really need to actually state receipt here, but it becomes a receipt as soon as they make payment. And they can pay with credit card or by e-check right here if you guys set up, with authorized.net or EPS Financial for, payments within Atom. Okay, get a comment. All right, statements, please. Make sure I'm tracking e-signatures. Let's go back to our e-signatures. So we made a few changes here. If the client needs to reset their PIN, obviously they can click on reset their PIN right here. The spouse will now get a text, an email sent to them with the new PIN. Whereas before it all went to the client or the taxpayer. Now the spouse will get their own, as long as you have an email or a cell phone for that spouse. The e-signature box, it's a little different layout. If I click on e-sign required, now they can do it individually. So if my taxpayer signs first and my spouse signs second, I can do that. Business returns, we had a lot of calls last year when we added more client verification information that had to be entered regarding date of birth. And so from what we were told is you're not really supposed to be doing e-sign. The IRS has not authorized e-sign for business returns like 1065s, 1120s. So, if you choose to continue to do it, that's on your own. We did eliminate the date of birth, but we did find out that the IRS has not opened that up for business returns, strictly just 1040 individual returns for e-sign. And that's with everybody, not just with us. New additional link page down here, I called it favorite links. And you can add additional links to this page. So we found a lot of our users were saying, we're not using authorized.net as we want to continue to use our normal credit card processor, but we'd love, to record the payments or the fees and add them, and then have the client just link off to our site so they can do payment processing. So you can do that now. So you can put as many links as you'd like in here. You can call this whatever you want. So if you want to call this make payment or payment processing, whatever you'd like, and then just have the link right here, and that'll just take you right to wherever you're directing it. So in this case, we put a client information sheet to display right here because we can put whatever we'd like in here. So And again, there's instructions on how to set this up. It's going to be done in your additional links inside of Atom, and also a few adjustments in admin you have to do. New client feedback, as I mentioned on the very beginning of miscellaneous online reviews. So I'm going to show a little bit how that looks. So if it's a current client and they're inside of your client portal here, as you know, before we always had this give us feedback, and I customize this and to tell us how we're doing. You know, they could do the star ranking, and this just comes right into your client portal and tells you how you're doing, which is good. But we want to take it a step further and have them tell the world how we're doing, as long as it's a positive feedback. So now we have a new feedback page right here, tell us how we did, and it's called inside your, when you get this, it's going to actually be called Client Feedback Social, all right, which means social media, going to Google, going to Facebook, and obviously you can change the name to whatever you like, and you do that in admin client portal links. But from here, they would just select the site. So if you have multiple sites, if you don't have multiple sites, it would default to whatever your one site is. It then says, how did we do? Okay, now this page right here is all customizable, and it's all done on your admin sites page. So the only thing you can't change are those big buttons, yes and no. Everything else, you can change the color, you can change the wording, whatever you'd like to do. So from here, if I say, yes, they met my expectations, now we have the links. So these links, again, you're going to set this up in admin sites page. So it's going to be your review page on Facebook, your review page on Google, and also your review page on Yelp. All right, and so when I click on that, say I go to my Google page, that's going to take me right to the review page. In this case, it actually defaults to 5 stars in, and I'm logged in under my daughter, Hannah, and I can go ahead and type my review, and it automatically would post right into Google. Now, your client obviously has to be logged into Google, otherwise it won't work. It'll prompt them to log them into Google if they have a Google account. If they don't have a Google account, it's not going to work. So then they can maybe do Facebook. If they don't have a Facebook account, then that's not going to work either. So, but most people do have one of those two accounts. As you can see now, as you see right here, it's 118 reviews. It was pretty amazing that we would jump that high that quick. And next year will probably be over 200. So not everybody is going to give you a positive review. So if they say no, that you actually did something wrong, again, we have a message. You can customize this message to whatever you'd like it to read in admin. And if they send you a message here, then it actually will flow. So it's a negative message saying there's a problem, but it's not going to go to your Google page. It actually is going to flow right in here to your prospect message. And then again, your staff can assign it to the office manager, and then you can deal with it with a staff member to find out what the problem was, and also take care of your client. But they don't need to tell the world. They're just telling you internally what the problem was, and then you take care of it however you'd like to. Okay, let me get back to my page here. All right, so that's how the new online review works inside the portal. And again, I showed you the URL links. They can also send to the client where they don't actually have to even log into the portal. They'll get the exact same pages, but they won't have to be inside the portal. So that's how I kind of hit them when they walk through the door in the lobby. I don't even make them log in. They just go there, and then they're going to be directed to the Google page if they are happy with your services. Let's see here. Prospect portal. All we did is on the prospect portal, if you're using that landing page, we found the prospect was sending us multiple messages, hitting the send button more than once. So now we've just eliminated the send button once they've sent one message, so they can't send you more than one. Or they can't duplicate the message. That's the problem. In admin, all right, let me get back to let's go to admin now. So client email text log, right here, client email text log. And if you didn't know this, and if you're using Atom for texting, this is a great way to see how many texts are going out on a daily basis, and if you can find, if someone says you send a text to them and you want to find who it was and you can't find them inside your file, you can come here with a phone number and this will identify, when did the text go out and what message went out. So if I were to click on here, say I go back to the 7th, this will show me every text or email that went out to a client. Okay, and it says, which client, what the message was. So from here, oh, you know what? I jumped ahead. Go to, I think I got caught off base here. Let me see here. I apologize. Oh, no, I'm in the right spot. Okay, record Twilio attachments. So right here, the far column, Twilio attachment. So you can now, for happy birthdays, like both to the client and the employee, you can actually, and we'll talk about this in a minute, on the template file, you can actually send a picture. So as an attachment to the text. And so it'll actually show, the attachment right here that was sent. I don't happen to have any, but that's what it'll show right here. Now moving on to email text templates. So because we know that it's kind of nice to be able to personalize your text or your email, and we've had that built into, we kind of just expanded on it a little bit more. So you can say, Mark Preco or Mark, or you can put the client balance in here. So we made more dynamic fields that you can insert for both your emails and your text. So this is kind of how here's the instructions up above here. And you can put the first name, you can put the full name, whatever you'd like to do. You can put the balance in there, which you could do before regarding your invoicing, sending out of here. And we've added, and you can also, this is where you're actually going to send the attachment. So all you do is would hit the edit pencil, and I believe what I've been playing with is a JPEG file right here. And all I did is do a Google search for happy birthday cake JPEG file, and I found one. I downloaded it to my computer, and then I just went ahead and browsed and I uploaded it. So very quick and very simple. You can put whatever you'd like in there. We're experimenting with this, so as of right now, these are the only 2 pictures they can send. And since we're talking about a little bit about the texting, and I know a lot of people have been asking, can my clients send me pictures? Can they take a picture of their W-2 and send it to me and put it in the file? We could offer that. At this point, we chose not to because we thought for security purposes, we didn't want to put your clients at risk of somebody stealing that data between that transfer, because that is not encrypted. Those are not encrypted texts. So I know it would be simple, but you also have to look at the safety and security of your client. So as soon as they get hacked, you made it simple for them, but they would come right after you. So we're protecting you and we're protecting your client. So the best bet is to just send them a text with the link to your client portal, and they can quickly just log in, and then they can upload the W-2 to you. So we've been playing around with that, and it's worked great. The client's been sitting at our desk, and they're like, oh, I have my W-2 on my phone. Can I send that to you? And I quickly send them a text with a predefined message, and pops on their phone within seconds with the link to the portal. They just log in, enter their social and their password, and they're in. And you're sitting at your desk usually, so you can give them the password if they don't know it. So that's the best way to do it. It's still pretty quick. So that's the way we're going this year anyways with it. Sorry I got off base. I just wanted to make sure I cover that because I know a lot of you are probably going to be asking that question. Okay, so we have new referral. So down here, as you recall, I talked about the refer from pop-up box, and now you can send an email and text immediately to the client, thanking them for their business. Right here is where you can customize that template. And all these text messages have been expanded to 1,600 characters, so you can make it as long as you want. But again, I encourage you to not go overboard with that, to make sure your clients are going to be reading them. Report permissions. Oh, I'm sorry, moved on. Event status. No, I'm way off base here. Let me get back to where I was. Email text template. Okay, send birthday client, birthday employee. We got that. Time change. All right, I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but the texts actually were going out at 6 in the morning. So some of our clients for happy birthdays weren't so happy about that when they got that, and they complained. So we finally changed it, and hopefully this is so far we haven't had any complaints this summer. So we bumped it to 8 a.m. Monday through Friday and 9 a.m. on weekends. So if that's not working for you, let us know. We just didn't want to do it too late in the day because it is a little bit of a strain on our servers. And then as the day starts moving on, you guys start working on the servers. And so we didn't want the text and emails going out, bogging down the server at all. So that's why we're doing it early in the morning. Event status. So now we go down to event status and admin here. Column view permissions. Now you can select your column headings to display on homepage. I talked about that earlier. To do that, all you do is click on this little view permissions icon, and this is where you would check the box what you want to view and which ones you don't want to view or display, on the homepage. Client notifications, again, we expanded it to 1,600 characters. Report permissions, moving down here. Nothing's changed here except we do have 3 new reports, and in order to display those reports, you'd have to come in here. So once I describe what those reports are, if you think that's something you want to use, then you come in here and make sure that either administrator, office manager, whatever security level you'd like, to make sure that report actually displays for that individual. And we'll talk about these reports in a minute. Rollover accounts. The change we made here on the rollover account. So anybody who's using this rollover account, obviously you can copy all your clients to the next year. So if you have your tax year 2016, you want to roll everyone over into 2017 at the beginning of the year, you can do that. The status it would always be a blank office event status. Now it's going to be controlled strictly based on your event status, admin event status page. You can check a box like, what status do I want to have added on in creation when this year is updated. So say if you want always to add on into the lobby. So now as long as you still have that box checked in the event status, so I'm going to go to it real quick because I'm even confusing myself right now. So right here on admin event status here, it says add on creation. So if there's a checkbox there for that particular business type, when you go ahead and roll this thing over, it'll automatically put them all at that status. So if you have more than one picked, if it have lobby and cashier, then lobby and cashier will be for all of those clients you roll forward. So if you don't want any status to display, you got to make sure you go into the event status there and uncheck those boxes. So this is a new change. So if you've been doing this, make sure you're paying attention to this part. And we'll have video, we'll update the video too to help you. Task types, client notification, come down here to task types. We just added some new dynamic fields also in here under the client notification. So we've added the clients. I think we had the balance before. So now you can put the client's name in here when it actually goes out as an email or a text. Users, let's get to our users page, which means we're almost done here. So on the user page, you can send, again, a Twilio message. So I can send it to all my users, all my employees at one time. Say I have a meeting, I need everyone to come in, or employee orientation. I can blast it to them. They'll get a text on their phone. Okay, they can reply back, and again, it's going to flow right into Atom, and it actually flows into their user file too, right here. Well, if I don't want to send it to all of them, I can go ahead and uncheck those. I just hit send Twilio message. The box will pop up. I can type the message I want to send, and then just send it off to them. All right, I can also link directly to their Twilio page. Oh, one more thing, I should follow my outline here. So when I send the Twilio message to them, it'll actually say who sent the message. So it's going to say sent by, Mark Preco if I'm actually the one sending, or if the office manager is doing it. So I just thought that, as we're rushed and everything, we might forget to put our name at the end. So then if it's actually being sent to an employee, it'll automatically stamp it with your name at the bottom of the text. All right. Link to the Twilio log. If I click on this, my little Twilio log icon, that's going to shoot me in the exact same page that just like my client's Twilio log. Now this is my user, my employee's Twilio log. So any kind of text messaging going back and forth between me and my staff is all going to be documented inside their file. So I can go in and do it individually and just pop in here and I can see all their previous text messages going back and forth between us. I can also have predefined messages in here. Exact same predefined messages I had in my client for my clients. They're all right here too. Let's see here, Twilio 2A predefined messages. And as I pointed out, when they reply back, it's all going to flow right into here. So you have 2 new Twilio messages right here. And then if you reply back, again, then it would display their name, user, that would be the employee. So let me go back to my admin page, back to my users. Got a few more things on my user page I need to point out to you. So that's tied to the Twilio messaging for our staff. If I scroll down here, now if you're not in Atom all the time, but maybe your clients are now going to be texting you like mad, which I'm kind of anticipating that happening with us. We almost need to have a staff member just looking at our Twilio messages coming in. That's what I'm thinking anyways, but we'll find out because it's the first year we've had this two-way texting. But if you want to make sure, so if you're outside the office and you're not in Atom all the time, you can have it set up so that maybe one of your users is going to be the default for the Twilio portal record. So then they would actually get an email sent to them telling them, hey, check your Atom because you have a Twilio message or you have a text message. So if you want that to be the case, which we have it set up right now, you can do that with your client portal messages. So you just check the box here. So say in the summertime, if you're not in the office all the time, then you might want to check that because your clients, if they're actually going to start using this texting and you want it to be effective, you want to make sure you answer them timely, otherwise they're not going to be using it. So that might be good for you if you're not in your Atom all the time. Restrict by business type. If you want to restrict your users by business type, you can now do that. So maybe if you don't want your tax preparers to get into see your bookkeeping clients or vice versa, now you can pick which business type each user should be in. And so they will not even see on the home page, they won't even see the office events on the home page for the other business type. If you do a search for a client, they'd only see that specific business type that they're supposed to see. So it's a really nice feature if you want to keep certain staff members outside of specific business types. Lastly, here, the last section, we have reports. I'm going to move this over because I don't really need to go into it. I'm just going to point out. So we have cash receipts. You can now just filter it by site. Before, if you had multiple sites, you'd see them all. Employee, we've added account types. So now the preparer report has 1040s, whatever you have listed in account types, it's also on that report. And you can also filter by account type now. The mailer, client export, which is kind of, we designed it as a mailer, but now it's kind of just our dump of client data. And from there, you can export it to Excel and manipulate it in any way you'd like. So we've added several other fields. One is other language. Now you can identify if you're using it for Spanish speaking, you identify your Spanish speaking clients if you want to send them a different mailer, but it's going to be tagged other language. Our new feature category, that's going to be in there. Scheduling type, so if you want to track your drop-in, your walk-ins. Access code, so you actually can it'll pull your social security number, the EIN, whatever you have listed in as your access code for your client. Last open status, so that would be if you have your office event and there's no end date, that's classified as an open status, and it'll take the last one. And then transaction info, where actually you can put what will pull out would be the fee, payment, discount, and the account balance for that particular client. So it's all based on the date range that you put in there. And for the user, because this report is pulling off of filtering by user, So it's going to go, and it used to be active users. So if you made this person inactive, then that employee no longer would even show in the drop down. Now it's strictly going off the begin and end dates in that user's tax reporting section. So, and you always want to make sure your users have a begin and end date. So otherwise, some of your reports are not going to have accurate information. And I refer you to the users page for more information on how to set that up. The management, here's some new reports we have here. So invoices with open transactions, just what I described in the transaction section, these new open, this invoice report with open transactions. Now you can do it in bulk or batch. So if you want to run a report for all your clients with open transactions and you want invoice numbers to appear on them, this is how you would do it in this new report. Another new report, management account user role commission report. So these are, as I pointed out, if you want to pay commissions to staff members for doing like data entry or viewer, so they're doing multiple roles on an individual client's file, that's the report that you're going to be using right there. Payroll, the new report we have here, and some of you may have used, we actually pushed this through last tax season for one of our users, but we didn't introduce it to everybody, but we are right now. So it's called the payroll by site and position. So this actually, if you're using our punch clock to track hours, it'll track the hours. It'll show when they went into overtime, what kind of position they were working when they went into overtime, and it's basically trying to track to see, are they working too many hours, and so you can kind of control the hours and see maybe if they're doing reviewing and they're doing overtime, maybe you don't want them to do that. They should do it more when they're actually as a tax preparer, because you want to have to pay them that high hourly rate by doing, some kind of a job position that somebody else could be doing. So this kind of report will point that out, but obviously you have to be using our punch clock to do that. And it's going to filter again by the begin and end date, what's set up in the user's tax reporting section, rather than the security level. When I say security level, I mean if they're labeled as, if you put them down as inactive, their name no longer displays, regardless if you go back when they actually were working. So, but now when we use the begin and end date, we don't have to worry about that anymore. You can always get that historical data, regardless if they're even working with you anymore. And with that, we made it through all 10 pages. So I appreciate you for staying on here, and I look forward to implementing all these, putting all these changes in place, and hopefully you guys have a successful tax season, and keep the feedback and suggestions coming. And if you didn't see any of the your suggestions that you requested in these group of changes yet, I mean, we had so many, we can only do so many, but we're still making changes as we speak, and we probably are going to push a few more, not big ones, but maybe little minor ones. We'll send in there, and we'll send a message out to you guys if we do that. But typically, just because things change when the IRS starts opening business, and so we have to make a few accommodations for that. So you might see a few more minor changes coming, but other than that, starting next March again, believe it or not, we have a whole list of new changes, and I'm pretty excited about a few of them. So we'll get going again, and just keep making Adam better and better. So I appreciate all your support, and I hope you guys have an amazing tax season. Thank you.